So here we go. Rapid fire podcast and a countdown timer, 5 minutes a topic. We're going to start with The Last Dance. People have been talking about The Last Dance nonstop. I did not anticipate, John, that after The Last Dance ended, there would just be nothing but arguing about The Last Dance. Was it good enough? Was it right? Was it wrong? Did you like it? Like, I don't give a shit. But for people who are in the thing, different story, like Scottie Pippen, who was reportedly livid, John, livid with his portrayal in The Last Dance. Should Scottie Pippen be livid?
Well, did you see Mike Greenberg, who was a radio host back in the day in Chicago and covered this team? Obviously now Mike and Mike, get up. He thought he had a tweet that felt that the documentary disrespected Scottie Pippen. And I don't know, guy. I'm going to call bullshit. I watched the documentary like millions of other people and thought, you refuse to go into a game. That was not some overhyped deal. Bill fucking Cartwright, who was on your team, then became a coach and clearly was one of those guys that was just high level of respect in that little circle, cried. He cried. Remember Steve Kerr said he started crying.
Yeah.
Saying you let down the team. Then, and listen, I'm not trying to go tough guy. I just talk for a fucking living. Did he have that migraine? He got a migraine, and I've never had probably a super intense migraine. We've all had headaches. Some people have had migraines. I know they really hurt. Terrell Davis had a migraine and won Super Bowl MVP. Like, part of when a legend grows is when crazy shit happens to you, dislocate your shoulder, and you run for 150 yards like Emmitt Smith in the NFC Championship. So, nitpicks him a little bit. But to me, at the end, throughout the Michael run, Michael always talked about Scottie. The clips of Scottie just demoralizing people, dunking on guys, putting his nuts on guys' heads, locking up everyone on defense. And then at the end, he has this crazy back injury, and somehow he plays 25 minutes in Game 6, and they win the fucking 6th ring. I actually thought it was fair / kind of validates Scottie's the greatest second banana in second banana history. But he was a second banana.
Yeah, look, I think the stuff with Kukoc is probably the stuff he's least mad about. Like, that thing has been hashed over and over and over and over again. From what apparently he said to other people, Michael calling him selfish early. And remember, I think the stuff with Scottie being mad about this came out before we even got to the end where he plays in the finals with his back. It feels to me like Michael calling him selfish is one thing he's pissed about. And then...
But, guy, he refused to get that surgery in the
summer. I get it. But it's not like Michael wasn't selfish, too. But I'm just saying, I think it's that. And I think he probably feels like all the stuff that happens legit. But if you just pulled out and said, what are the focal points of Scottie? You'd go, the Kukoc thing, the migraine thing, the surgery thing where he gets called selfish. And then finally we get to the back and he plays through it in the end. I think it's not so much the lows. It almost feels like he feels like maybe the people that defend Scottie, there's not enough highs of Scottie. Maybe this thing doesn't quite show just how great he was. And there's probably some fairness there. But I will, like I said, I don't think the Kukoc thing, there's no other way to handle that thing other than the way they handled it. Here's the other thing about this doc is and you see it, Scottie's wearing the same shirt the whole time. Phil, it's only one interview. Michael is the only one that gets to respond to things that people say. And I wonder if they came to Scottie and said, Scottie, this is what Mike said about this. This is what Mike said about that. Here's interview 2 with Scottie. And then he got to say how he felt. I wonder if just having that opportunity would make him feel differently. I think it's probably hard when you get one shot at it and then Michael gets to have the final say on everything.
It was his documentary. It was I know it was called The Last Dance, but it was the narrative this was Mike's documentary. Right. And I'd say, listen, it was quote unquote Mike's documentary, it actually used a lot of the other people. It made Kerr look good. I thought Phil looked really good. To me, what Scottie, Scottie, you refuse to go in a game and you're an all-time great player. That is
Yeah, but again, I don't think, my guess is that's not the part he's mad about.
What are you mad about? They didn't show enough of his highlights?
Maybe they didn't make him look as good as he was, and maybe the thing Michael calling him selfish.
But it's he gets credit for locking down Magic in the first championship. He's on the dream team, and clearly he's one of the dudes on the dream team, right? He's I got Tony. Then as they come back, when Michael comes back, they're kicking the shit out of everyone, and Scottie's dominating. I thought it made Scottie look just like Scottie Pippen.
But what they're showing us is the stuff that we saw superficially, on the surface as people who just watched on TV. I can't dismiss the fact that the people that covered him, like Jackie McMullen and Greenberg, like these people are saying this thing wasn't fair to Scottie. Like I do, that something doesn't quite add up, because you're right. If I didn't hear anybody else's opinion, I wouldn't have thought Scottie got shafted in this documentary. If I just watched it and you and I talked about it.
Horace got it the worst. I mean, he was called against the rap, and now he wants
Jerry
to fight
Krause got it. That
Jerry
bothered me. The fact that there's not one person who's just biased on Jerry's side. I don't mean someone to say something like, oh, Jerry, just give me Jerry's kit. Somebody who's like, this is horseshit, who just has nothing but bias, and they're biased, and we know they're biased, but they can just say, what the fuck, man?
This is a rapid fire podcast, so we're already over time. I'm going to end my last thought on this. Daryl Morey tweeted out something basically calling Krause a failure because his best player hated him. It's like, Daryl, the motherfucker built multiple championship teams. Shut the fuck up.
Cartwright said,
you wish you could be Jerry Krause, Daryl Morey.
Somebody asked Cartwright, would they have won with Doug Collins? And he said no. And the reason Doug got fired is because Krause hired Tex Winter. Doug would not implement what Tex Winter said, and so they went to Phil. But it was Krause that hired Tex Winter. So that's weak.
And then hired Phil, right?
Yeah, hired Tex. Then when he hired Doug, he also hired Phil. Yeah. All right, next up, John. Tom Brady documentary. ESPN announces there's going to be a Brady doc, 9 parts next year. You into it?
What do you think the most important part of having a sweet, 6+, let's say, episode doc? Because I'd say most docs, a long doc is like 2 hours. Now, part of having it on network television is, and you know this, like, you have a 3-hour radio show. You're actually not talking for 3 hours. Every 15 minutes, there are 5 minutes of ads if your station actually is making any money. And some stations have a longer set of ads. Where in the podcast, you actually just have 4, maybe, on the high end, 5 ads. Some pods probably 2 to 3, depends on the time of year. But each ad's 60 seconds, right? Like, even if you listen to the biggest fucking Bill Simmons or Rogan, they do a couple they do like 2 minutes of ads.
Well, I actually listened to Rogan yesterday, and the first 10 minutes were ads.
But that's how that's how he does it, though.
Yeah.
He opens up his podcast. I think Tim Ferriss.
Back on track, John.
Yeah, some of those guys do it. So you can manipulate it. So part of it is like, it's 9 episodes. It's actually probably 45-minute episodes or whatever.
Right.
We lived Michael, but the media and the coverage now is so much different. I feel like Tom Brady, no matter where you live in America, if you're a sports fan, that means you probably listen to sports content or watch sports content. Whether you're in Boston or whether you're in LA, he's kind of interwoven in everything, definitely for the last 7-8 years, right? I feel like there's not that. Now, I'm not anti the doc. Couldn't you do some other people that would be kind of would Pete Rose be a better doc? Or just something that's kind of removed that would be crazy? I don't know.
Yeah, here's what
what's he going to tell me that Brady's 6? I've seen Belichick. I fucking know everything about these guys.
Here's what he does have, though, is multiple championships. So if you're going to do like The Last Dance did, game footage and stuff, you've got all these runs. It's not 1 title. It's not 2 titles. It's not like you've got Super Bowl losses. You've got Giselle. You've got kids. And then you have multiple major controversies, right? And then you got Bill, and you got Aaron Hernandez committed. If they want to include everything,
there's a lot of shit. There is, but do you feel like it's going to be like,
are we getting that?
Hernandez walked in. It's like, I swear to God, I saw a little blood on his shirt, but I didn't say anything. It's like, yeah, right.
Or are we going to get 2 episodes that are like TB12? Welcome to the future.
To me, it's like, I could never say this when I played for the Patriots, but in 05 and 06, we used to get these crazy printouts that I have no clue how he knew it, but he knew every call on the other team. And then when we got popped by Mangini, I realized, yeah, we were filming other shit, right? You're not, no chance, none. Where at least with Michael, now granted Krause was dead, he was drinking, it was so far removed where all those guys, even Phil, Steve, could kind of say whatever they wanted. Literally, you could just felt like, you know what, they're just kind of letting it rip. Now, right. Mike, they might be lying or whatever, but their version in their head is what they're giving you. Because immediately Horace is like, that's a lie. Michael Michael believes, like, I don't think Michael's making that up, right? He believes to his core Horace Grant was the leak.
Yes.
Like, would Tom be like, you know what? I thought Bill fucked me on Deflategate. I told him I didn't do it. He kind of threw me under the bus. Like, I just don't think we're getting that.
Right.
Now, if we were, that would be you and I and everyone else pretty into it.
Yeah, or even if we just get some, like, hey, yes, there are parts of our relationship that weren't smooth. I'm going to talk about those things, and we'll have Bill's perspective on those things.
I'd say too, there are going to be guys in this documentary. Let's say whenever the pandemic ends, you're going to want to talk to like Edelman, McCourty, guys are still on the team. Like, you think Edelman's going to just give you raw and real while he's still on the Patriots? He can't. Or even Kraft, or just some of these guys. To me, it'd be too much. Like, I didn't feel like Michael, even though it was his narrative, was just some huge BJ fest with, like, it was in his mind, but it was still kind of like, whoa. I don't know if we'd get that many whoas with Tom.
I wish, we still can't. I'm sure we will get. I would put a Kobe one above this. And
me too.
Number one for me might be Tiger. If we're just talking like Tiger does.
He wouldn't give you anything though, would he?
Yeah, I think there'd be some of the stuff you're talking about that you get from Jordan, you would get from Tiger, right? Like the Tiger took some of Jordan and made it himself. Like we always talk about Kobe copying Mike. I think Tiger clearly, intentional or not, I bet a lot of it was intentional. Like Michael, intimidator, like hard worker, all this stuff. I'm the greatest. I think there was a lot of that in Tiger and not by accident. And, now he had his lows were low. Michael's dad got killed, but I'd probably
Michael's dad
Tiger
got killed, but it was easy, whether you believe it or not, that it wasn't like part of Tiger's would be like, you got caught cheating on your wife. Like Michael got caught cheating on his wife too. You notice that didn't come up. Like Michael's been divorced. That did not come up. Like you can't tell the Tiger. You could tell the Michael Jordan story. I guess there was a segment on Twitter who was bitching and moaning his wife wasn't interviewed. It's like, yeah, we don't really need to hear from her.
His
like
current wife.
His ex-wife.
Well, his kids were barely. His kids. A lot of people. It was funny. People like, we got his kids to talk about the Jazz fans were mean. That was it. Basically.
Yeah, but you could do it actually kind of easily without it, and I don't think it would be really hard.
I think when you remember, this is not Mike. Like, even though it felt like this is the Michael Jordan doc, this documentary is about the last year that this team was together. So, like, what do Michael's kids have to do with that?
Yeah, but you agree, Tiger? Like, you ain't getting Elon. Like, he would not agree if like.
But I'm just saying, like, if you told me I could get that version of somebody else, it would be Tiger.
I agree, but don't you think Tiger would have some serious restrictions on who you could talk to?
Yeah. But, I'm just saying, if Tiger talked like Michael talked, that'd be worth it. That's okay. You don't need to talk. Well, I don't need to talk to Elon. That's fine.
I agree.
Josh Rosen, John, apparently on the move or trade bait, or people are talking about. Of course he's going to be on his third team in 3 years, but man, is there still hope?
I loved him coming out. His physical tools were awesome. And looking back, I would not have loved him as much coming out 3 years removed, just given the way I look at the game. Just because I think that the mobility of
he was coming out this year.
Yeah, because really he was more of your prototypical in the history of football, what you looked for, right? Like if he became a really good player, his style would have been an Eli, a Flacco, right? A Rivers. Like he couldn't move, bad athlete, just a pocket quarterback with a big arm. I don't really like listen, I'm not against pocket quarterbacks playing well in the pocket, but I'm not really for stiffs anymore. And I think the league's kind of showing that the day and age is of even like a Jared Goff, like the guys that can't truly move are kind of dying just because of, and we've talked about this over and over, the guys that are coming into the league, even like a pocket, like Justin Herbert is a mobile guy. Next year, Trevor Lawrence can move. Josh Allen, Carson Wentz, these guys fucking Jimmy Garoppolo. Again, I'm not talking Lamar Jackson. I'm just not the Josh Rosen, those type players. I wonder if a lot of people are going to like guys like him anymore just around the league. Now, if you can get him for really cheap, but you told me before we hit record, because I think sometimes we forget, like, he's getting screwed. He did get drafted 10, and he keeps getting traded. That means he keeps getting paid his contract, which is really good. 17 million, you said?
Yeah, I mean,
Guaranteed?
17.6.
And that's without a fifth-year option getting picked up, which, of course, it won't, right?
Correct.
Well, I guess you could never say never. He's going into his third year.
Unlikely,
You never. Unlikely.
Yeah, I mean, look, the report was they're getting calls. He's going to be on another team. The report also was they're not in a rush to trade him. He's going to get another shot. I think you're right. He wouldn't be the 10th overall pick, but he would be a player that people were intrigued by, right?
Would they keep 3 quarterbacks?
I guess they could, but
given the Tua might be on an injury reserve or redshirt.
Yeah, maybe that's the weight. And if that's the case, it means they like him to some degree.
But you wouldn't cut him because being a 10th pick going into his third year, that's just paying him to go away. You would trade him even if it meant trading him for a 7th-round pick,
yeah,
right?
Because like you always say, somebody out there had him. Somebody out there had him rated. The Cardinals weren't the only ones that had him rated as a top 10 player in the draft, or at least a top.
But see, that's what I'm saying. I think you could convince me 10 people thought he was a top 10 level quarterback. Just think how much information's changed though in the 2.5 years.
No
just
doubt.
The way the game's
No
kind of
doubt.
played.
But if you knew everything you knew now, would he be undrafted or would he be a 5th rounder?
Yeah, no, he'd probably go in the 3rd or 4th, right? He wouldn't go in the 6th. Right,
his career stats.
He was a better player than Jacob Eason, right? Who would you take,
Yeah.
Jacob Eason coming out of college or Josh Rosen?
Yeah. I mean, look, it's easy to forget this.
Where'd Eason go? 4th?
4th or 5th. He
Yeah.
went 3rd day, right?
Yeah, I think it was 4th. The Colts.
It's easy to forget. It feels like a lifetime ago. The guy started 13 games. Like, that's the one thing you would say. It's not like there's no body of work in the NFL. 13 games, 55% completion, 11 touchdowns, 14 picks. I mean, he did get sacked 45 times. He got sacked 16 times in 6 games and 3 starts last year. Think about that. 16 sacks in 3 starts.
You're saying in his 2 seasons of playing in the NFL, he's been sacked 60 times?
61,
you said 44?
Yeah. 45 and 16.
Oh, my God. You think we'd have to look up like David Carr, but that feels like it's got to be near the top, right? That's an incredible stretch of 15 games, 61 sacks. What's the average there? Like, I'm not a math major, 3 a game? That's insane.
So Carr was sacked 76 times his rookie year.
In 16 starts?
Yeah.
But he's played 15 games, guys, 61. That's not that far off. I mean, that's a fucking enormous amount.
Now, the question is it because of what you're talking about? That's got to be part of it. Now, also, he's
well,
played
the
for 2 bad
Cardinals'
teams.
O-line was atrocious 2 years
doubt.
ago. Atrocious. But part of it is he can't move. So you can't afford to put him behind a bad line. Like, you'd say, well, I watched Kyler Murray. The offensive line was also bad, and actually he looked pretty good.
Yeah. I hope this next shot is same place, 2 years. Just get some time. I'm still holding out hope.
What about transitioning to tennis and just trying to be the next American tennis star? Make a comeback for tennis?
I mean, usually, how old is he now? He was in college for a while.
24?
It's old for a tennis player.
But didn't he get tennis elbow? Wasn't that one of the problems?
23 years old. It's old for a tennis player.
That is.
All right. I was watching, under the Warriors, John, I was watching this thing that the Arizona Wildcats put out on their YouTube channel, like Arizona Athletics. And it was Sean Miller, the current coach, Steve Kerr, the Warriors coach, obviously, and Matt Muehlbach, who's a former Wildcat, and I work with him quite a bit calling games at Pac-12 Network, and he's super tight with Steve. Like, they're really good friends. And one thing Kerr said, because he was asking, like, what are you guys doing? And one thing Kerr says, I've got a ton of time to do draft prep, which I never have time to do. And it's not just watching film. That's also like Zoom meetings with prospects. And we've heard some of that. The other part that I thought was interesting was he said, the other thing we never have time to do is just really take a step back and kind of self-evaluate our basketball team. And so we've been spending a lot of time just figuring out how do we want to change and evolve next year on offense and defense, not in terms of personnel necessarily, but what are the things that we haven't done that we need to do, what's changing in the league. And I think there's going to be a lot of people that come out of quarantine going, God, I wish I hadn't just watched everything on Netflix and had been productive, learned a language, read some books, something like that. That's kind of the approach the Warriors are taking, because unlike a lot of teams that you think will compete next year, they've got a high draft pick and they're not really getting ready for the postseason. They don't have to be on hold in case there is a postseason. Maybe everybody's doing this to some degree, but I think the fact that we've had this scenario, the fact that the Warriors didn't become like, an 8 seed with healthy Steph, this is working out potentially as well as it could for them.
Yo tengo como te llamas. No, I didn't learn a language, but I don't even know if that makes sense.
Juan Middlecoff?
They are in a unique position, guy, that Jerry Krause, who, listen, people can shit on him all they want, and he clearly probably had some, self-confidence issues or insecurities or whatever. He built multiple teams, right? They transitioned from the early 90s, got rid of guys, and then restocked with the right guys. He even told the story about his assistant GM that went into Jerry, right, about Dennis Rodman. He's like, I'm telling you, we can get this guy for fucking nothing. And Jerry's first response was no. Well, he's not there to defend himself. Ultimately, that no turned into a yes. Like, the Warriors have a $17 million trade exception. And as of right now, it's kind of looking like this. You see the bubble. They might come back and play to get to 70 games. I think the Warriors were 3 games, the worst record. I would imagine there's a decent chance. Like, does Steph even go to Disney World? Like, I can't.
No.
The Looney just got. Do you see he got surgery yesterday?
Yes.
Do you see that? Like, they are going to send. They're like, who's on the Warriors now? And it'll be fucking Haberman, Middlecoff, Lacob, and like Kerr's kid will be out
It'll
there.
just be. It'll look like if there was a strike and it was just scabs.
Yeah, it's gonna be bad. I mean, depending on how the tennis balls, the lottery balls fall, if you get the number 1 overall pick, they are not going to be dependent on that guy to start. If you just get a role player, it's like, guys can't contribute right away. Well, yeah, because most guys are asked to play like 30 minutes on really shitty teams. Imagine if you get a Wiseman and you're like, bro, we need you to give us 12 minutes in big games, some 8. And then when we're playing shitty teams, we'll let you make mistakes and you just get to get time. No one's even really judging you. They could come out of this, Bob Myers, when, like you said, there are two Americas right now. Those that don't want this to end because they're scared they haven't done dick, right? And then there are the people that have been, this time sucked, but I've been hustling. I've been working angles. I've been adding things to whatever my job is. If I'm fired, maybe I start a little side hustle, whatever. Like, they're going to come out guns blazing. Saw a story today. LeBron James has been doing workouts. Like, LeBron James is going to try to win a ring. Then there are going to be some guys when the playoffs start be like, I've just played a little too much Call of Duty. It's like, well,
I
that's
didn't think
fucking
we'd have a
on
season,
you.
hoping.
Yeah, so it's like Bob Myers and Lacob, he ain't just twiddling his thumbs, scratching his balls for the last 2 months. Like, he's been on Bob. They've been probably watching these guys, talking about these guys. Think how much information gathering you can do with just, like, you have no excuse. You're like, well, I'm just stuck at my desk. You could call every single human that's ever come in contact with Wiseman. Like, and I'm not saying that's going to dictate, or whoever.
Yeah.
Whether you're going to get
do think
the pick
though,
right or not.
if I can nitpick one thing, if whoever they draft is playing 12 or 8 minutes, it'll feel like they didn't draft the right. I think they'll need a little more than that.
Okay, 15, but he's going to be a backup.
Yeah.
Right?
But
because you're not getting like Shaq or Anthony Davis in this draft, right? Year one,
right. But I do think there's a place in between. Like, you don't have to be that guy to give me like 22 good minutes, right? Potentially.
Yeah.
Because if that happens, it'll feel like a home run.
If he can just give you 20 minutes and average like 8 points and 8 rebounds, if you're Wiseman or something, and just like do some sweet alley-oops.
Yeah, 8.
Guy,
if you're getting, forget about the minutes.
You're not going to play much.
Yeah, forget about the minutes. If you're getting 8 and 4, I would say you probably feel pretty good on this team. Maybe 5. Maybe you need a few more rebounds than points, but.
Well, if it's the center, to me, you'd probably need like 7 or 8.
Yeah. Last thing, we've got live sports again this weekend. The match: Tiger and Peyton, Phil and Tom. Medalist. Where's Medalist Golf Club?
Probably somewhere sweet. I think it's in Florida.
The front 9 is 4-ball. The back 9 is modified alternate shot, which means they're all going to hit. I learned about it today. They're all going to hit their tee shots on the back 9, and then they will pick the best. Each pair will pick the best ball, and then they'll play alternate shot from there, which I like. And the front 9 is everyone just plays their own ball. It's match play. Whoever wins the hole, that player's team wins the thing. And Tom and Peyton are getting 3 strokes on the front 9 when it's 4-ball.
It is in Florida because when they did like their initial promo / introduction with Ernie, that's when Peyton told Tom we had to do it in Florida because he couldn't leave the state because of his breaking and entering. Remember, that was like his jab. Me and Jeff, my brother, at Thanksgiving 2 years ago, bought this thing for $99, and then later it turned out
I watched it for free because it had a bleacher fail or whatever.
It's 2 guys, and I think you even realize it when you watch the match the other weekend with the 4 of them. Part of a golf tournament, you always have action going on. When you only have one group, there's just a lot of like walking up the tee. I think adding Peyton and Tom, who are just kind of shit talkers, guys, can loosen probably Tiger up more than Phil. Like Phil's naturally going to be a little over the top cheesy. I think Tiger has kind of become that guy. Justin Thomas, who is tight with Tiger and Phil, who I know Tom Instagrams at him. They obviously like him. I don't know if Peyton knows him or not, but they'll fucking hit it off too. Him out there kind of jabbing everyone. I actually think it can be kind of funny. And I know Tom says he's an 8. I think Peyton says he's around there. If you're an 8 and you're in that situation, I don't give a shit if you're 2 of the most famous athletes of all time in Peyton and Tom. They're going to hit some terrible shots. I mean, Matt Wolff hit some bad shots. Those guys could hit a shank or just a duck hook that like hit a tree. That to me is going to be kind of funny because then everyone can rib them.
Yeah, yes to that. I also think I did a deep medium dive. YouTube, there's like you can just find Tom Brady, Peyton Manning golf clips because they've played in a bunch of celebrity deals, pro-ams. Tom won in 2006 the Michael Jordan Celebrity Golf Classic. Tom's partner was Michael Jordan, so Michael won. And they're like, what is it like playing together? And Tom's pretty good. Clearly, Michael didn't get Tom on his team by accident. Like they beat like Joe Morgan, and I don't even remember who else was in this thing. But
was that the clip on 18 when Tom hits it toward the hole and starts walking as the ball's in the air? He's like, I love it. I saw someone tweeted it the other day. He kind of like pimped the shot. It might not have been on 18. I did not
see that the 06 thing. It may be because I did watch another thing that was just highlights, and Tom hits a ton of good shots. Peyton does too. Like their iron play is what you see a lot of in the highlight video, and they're just sticking the ball from wherever they are. Yeah. Some of them, I think it was Peyton had a bunch of highlights from Pebble.
I saw some of those. He actually played his beautiful draw around the tree. I was like, God,
yeah.
Peyton got some shots.
But you're right. That's different than like in this event hitting great shot after great shot, because as we know, golf, you'll hit some good shots, but it's the bad shots that sneak up and bite you that are probably more common than you'd like, and that's the difference between the greats and people that are average. But I think, to me, the fun will be on the back 9, where you've got Phil and Tiger either trying to hit some ball out of wherever Peyton and Tom hit it, or the ball being dead center in the fairway thanks to Phil or Tiger, and then Peyton and Tom having some, pressurized iron shot coming up.
I love watching golf. I mean, I arguably, if you had to pick one event, like I might pick like a major, unless it was like an NFL playoff game or a college football playoff game. Like it's probably my favorite sport to watch. I do think like last week is a little nichey, even though I think someone texted me that it was like 2 million people watched. But I mean, there's probably 2 million pretty big golf fans. If you're going to go to, I watched on Golf Channel. I guess was it on NBC too with Ricky and those guys? Where'd you watch it?
I think I watched it. I think I did watch it on NBC. Yeah, because this one's on TNT, TBS, True TV, somewhere else.
But would you agree that has a little bit more of like a lower level PGA tournament? Not lower level because it's Rory and DJ, but
it's not NBC.
It was golfy.
Yeah,
it was golfy. This to me feels a little more commercial, where you got Tiger, who's just one of the most famous fucking people ever, and then adding Tom and Peyton with Even Phil is a way bigger star than Rory, right? He's just been in our vernacular. He's really famous. This to me could get some pretty big carryover with just a lot of casual sports fan consuming this, of just like Tiger and Tom Brady talking, or Phil giving Brady shit, or Tiger talking shit to Peyton. Or I don't even. What are the teams?
The teams are Tiger and Peyton, Phil and Tom.
So you could get, to me, the crossover shit talking could be really fun. And this is, as much as it is a golf event, I actually just think it's one of those, used to happen a lot when we were young. It was like skills challenge, best athletes in America, 1993. And then it'd be like Griffey, Barry Bonds, and then like Dion would show up. And it would just be one of those that probably got a lot of people to watch because you get a bunch of famous people. That's kind of what this feels like, which I love golf, but it doesn't feel as golfy as like last weekend, which I think their viewer could be pretty big.
And
right?
This is the one that's been planned for a while now, right? The other one kind of popped up. This one has been promoted for a long time. They've been talking about it for a while. John, these are four of the biggest sports stars of the last 2 decades facing, that are part of this thing.
In an environment where they're like kind of loose, right, and mic'd up.
Yeah.
There could be some pretty funny viral highlights.
Especially if Peyton and Tom feel like the other 2 guys are carrying them. Maybe they're a little. One of the Peyton's places was Tom and Peyton, and they're playing. They're just having a par 3 contest in Jim Nance's backyard, and at the end they decide to try and hit it off of Jim Nance's house, off the roof and back onto the green, because Nance has a par 3 at the back of his house. And I was like, they're not really going to start hitting golf balls at Jim Nance's house, are they? I mean, there's windows there. But, they did. They started hitting the ball off of Jim Nance's house.
You know what's funny is Peyton Manning, because he's just kind of commercialized and he's so funny and we see him on Saturday Night Live. I think kind of we forget, like, he was the most meticulous of them all, like super tunnel vision, kind of just could get super tight, and that was one of his downfalls, right? I wonder if we're going to see some of him, like, to me, he'll probably, if I had to go the loose rankings, he's going to be number 1.
I agree.
But what if they're super, like, it's coming down the home stretch as he's locked in?
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm kind of fascinated because he's definitely hole 1. He'll feel the loosest.
Yes.
Right?
He'll do
nothing
the most
to
talking.
lose. Yeah. He'll talk a lot. I think Tom will be up there too. I just wonder if Tom will kind of flip the switch. Will Tom not be able to swear if he, like, duck hooks one out of bounds? I'd say Tom's most likely to drop shit or fuck.
Yeah. I don't know. The thing I watched with him and MJ, he was pretty – I wouldn't say he looked loose, but he was also playing with Michael, and it was 06. So it was a while ago.
He looked really young in that video.
He did.
Didn't he?
Yeah. His pants were almost as baggy as Mike's.
I'm looking forward to this.
All right. On that note, that's 11 a.m. on Sunday. Can't wait to watch it. Subscribe to our podcast. Go to our YouTube channel. Subscribe to that too. We appreciate it.
Have a good weekend.
Yeah. Enjoy golf.
Keep on trucking.
There you go.